At number 10, Don Rickles. Back in 2017, Toy Story fans were devastated to hear of the passing of Don Rickles. Don had a long and successful career as a comedian, but what most people remember him for is his role as the voice of Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story films. Don had been the voice of this beloved character since the very beginning and was part of 3 Toy Story films before his passing at the age of 90. Don was set to take up his famous role in the newest installment of the Toy Story series, but sadly he passed away before the script was finished. When the studio was ready to begin production on Toy Story 4, they actually got in contact with Don's family and asked them if they would be willing to give them permission to use old recordings of Don's voice to bring Mr. Potato Head to life one last time, to which they agreed, saying, quote, "He always said, keep my name alive, let them know who I am, so he would be thrilled by all of this, definitely." End quote. Toy Story 4 came out with Don's voice playing his beloved character and helping keep his legacy alive. At number 9, Marion Ramsey. Actress Marion Ramsey, best known for her time on Police Academy, passed away on January 7th, 2021 at the age of 73. According to sources, the actress passed away in her home in Los Angeles. Her agency rep, Roger Paul Inc., released a statement informing the public of her passing, saying, quote, "Marion carried with her a kindness and permeating light that instantly filled up a room upon her arrival. The dimming of her light is already felt by those who knew her well. We will miss her and always love her." End quote. Marion was best known for her performance as Officer Laverne Hooks in the Police Academy film franchise, beginning with the 1984 original, and then several role reprisals over the years. She was also known as a longtime advocate for HIV and AIDS awareness, and earned a lot of respect and praise for her work in fundraising for the cause. Outside of the film industry and advocacy, she was also known for her Broadway performances in shows like Hello Dolly and Little Shop of Horrors. Before I carry on talking about the rest of these stars, I would like to take a moment to ask you guys to maybe leave a comment down below sending some love to the families of the celebrities that we've lost recently. Loss is never an easy thing, so let's send some positive energy to those affected by their loved ones passing. At number 8, Diana Rigg. Though this actress took on some pretty big and legendary roles, some of her best works came from her time playing Emma Peel in the TV series The Avengers, as well as the wife of James Bond and Olenna Tyrell in Game of Thrones. Diana had a very successful career on screen, but also on stage, as she found success in the life of theater, making her Broadway debut back in 1971. Her life is filled with dozens of theater productions, television series, and films. But her career sadly came to an end upon her passing on September 10th, 2020. The actress passed away at the age of 82. Her daughter had reported that the actress passed away from lung cancer after being diagnosed with the disease back in March last year. At number 7, Jason Davis. If you're familiar with the Disney Channel show Recess from the late 90s/early 2000s, then you obviously remember the character Mikey Blumberg. His character was basically the nicest kid on the playground, a lovable guy with a knack for poetry and a good heart, always being the first to forgive people. Mikey's character was voiced by actor Jason Davis for the duration of the show series as well as its spin-off movies, but sadly Jason passed away last year on February 16th, 2020 at the age of 35. Other than appearing on the Disney Channel, Jason also had roles in Rush Hour, Beverly Hills Ninja, and Mafia. During his life, Jason did a lot of good for his community as he founded and dedicated himself to an organization called Cure Addiction Now. His organization's goal is to help fund research for those suffering from substance abuse and addiction, and he dedicated the year and a half before his passing to growing this organization. He brought many characters to life and dedicated his time towards helping others, achieving so many wonderful things in his life. At number 6, Deezer D. Actor Deezer D, who was best known for his role on the drama series ER, passed away this year on January 7th, 2021 at the age of just 55 years old. Deezer was a fan favorite among viewers of ER, and his role as Nurse Malik McGrath on the medical series was beloved by many, and as you would expect, fans were shocked and devastated to hear about his unexpected passing. His brother Emery Thompson announced his passing on social media, posting the announcement of his brother's passing to his Instagram account. Reports say that Deezer was found unresponsive in his home in Los Angeles on the morning of January 7th. An official cause of death was not released to the public, however, based on information provided by one of Deezer's other brothers, it is believed that the actor passed away from a heart attack. At number 5, Gene Wilder. When someone is diagnosed with a serious illness, it becomes a very tough and personal decision of whether or not to tell people about it. I know people who have chosen to keep their illness a secret until the end, and this is exactly what actor Gene Wilder did. Gene passed away in 2016, but it wasn't until after he died that the public learned about the secret that he was keeping in regards to his health. It turned out that the actor had been battling Alzheimer's for over 3 years before he passed away. After learning of this, a lot of people wanted to know why this news was kept from the public, and the reason behind it is so touching. Gene didn't want to reveal his condition to the public because he wanted people to remember him as who he was, not as someone who was sick. He wanted to keep the smiles on the faces of his fans. In a statement released by Gene's family, they elaborated on the situation, saying, quote, "The decision to wait until this time to disclose his condition wasn't vanity, but more so the countless young children that would smile or call out to him, 'There's Willy Wonka.'" One of the last photos that we have of the actor is one of him simply walking down the street. He never wanted to disclose his illness to the public to make sure that we remembered him well and not while he was sick, so seeing this last photo of him knowing that he was struggling is so heartbreaking. At number 4, Aaliyah. The R&B singer and actress tragically died back in 2001 after being in a plane crash. She was only 22 years old at the time. She was leaving the Bahamas with her film crew and was heading back to the US when the private plane that they were on crashed just moments after takeoff. She was killed along with 7 other people on the plane. One man survived the crash and was flown to Florida for treatment immediately after suffering critical injuries. The whole thing was a shock to the world, and the reason she was in the Bahamas was because she was filming her newest music video. Reports started to claim that the plane was overloaded and did not follow the weight capacity standards, which caused it to fall nose first into the ground just 250 feet off the runway. The last photo that we have of the singer is one that was taken by a fan just 2 days before her tragic death. It's so sad to know that this fan was the last one to see her alive. At number 3, Tupac. Tupac was killed on September 13, 1996 after an unknown assailant shot him 4 times from a white Cadillac while stopped at an intersection in Las Vegas. We know that Tupac was involved in rivalries with a number of different people and that his own actions put a target on his back, but even to this day we have no idea who pulled the trigger 4 times on that September night. It is believed that there are specific ties between the case and certain gang organizations and other rivals, but it's such a messy situation that it's hard to get some solid answers. The last image we have of the rapper is of him in the passenger seat of a car just moments before he was fatally shot. Unfortunately though, this image does not give us any clues as to who killed Tupac. At number 2, Steve Irwin. He had the name the Crocodile Hunter for a reason. Everyone loved to see him getting hands-on with wildlife in a way that many people had never seen before. He honestly seemed invincible when it came to these animals that most of us wouldn't dare touch. But then the unexpected happened and a stingray barb struck him in the heart, killing him at 44 years old. There was only one witness to his death, and it was his cameraman Justin Lyons, who opened up about what really happened. They were filming Ocean's Deadliest and ended up coming across a massive 8-foot-long stingray. As Steve got close to it, the stingray started stabbing wildly with its tail, hundreds of strikes in just a few seconds, and one of them striking his heart. His wife Terry and 2 kids were on vacation when he passed and flew home when they heard the news. The last footage that we have of the Crocodile Hunter is a video that was filmed by a tourist the day before Steve passed away from massive blood loss following the incident with the stingray. And finally at number 1, Marilyn Monroe. Actress Marilyn Monroe was one of the biggest celebrities of the 20th century. She was an icon beloved by so many, and she was super successful in Hollywood. However, behind all that success was a lot of sadness, and no matter how much money she had, it still didn't make her life much better. Though she had an estimated net worth of about $27 million at the time, all of that money couldn't make up for the hardships that she faced behind the scenes. She already carried trauma from her childhood, and according to biographers, Marilyn also struggled with her mental health and found it difficult to cope with her own fame. On top of that, each of her 3 marriages ended in divorce. She endured miscarriages and faced illnesses as well. Marilyn didn't get her chance to see her life turn around for the better as she passed away so young, and the last images that we have of her were taken while she was on vacation in Lake Tahoe just days before she passed away in her home. At number 10, Jay Pickett. Soap opera actor Jay Pickett, known for his time on General Hospital, passed away on July 30th of this year at the age of 60. Jay was a soap opera legend, having been part of the cast of a number of shows like Days of Our Lives, where he played Dr. Chip Latkin, Port Charles, and obviously General Hospital, where he portrayed the character Detective David Harper. The most recent project Jay was working on was a film called Treasure Valley, but sadly the actor passed away during the project's filming. Jay's passing came suddenly and tragically as a producer for Jay's upcoming film released a statement following the actor's death that said, quote, "Many of you already heard about the tragedy that happened 2 days ago. Jay Pickett, our leading man, writer, producer, and creator of this movie, passed away suddenly while we were on location preparing to film a scene," end quote. There was no official cause of death released at the time, but it is believed that the actor passed away due to a sudden heart attack. In the producer's statement, they elaborated on how hard they tried to keep Jay with us, saying, quote, "Everyone present tried as hard as they could to keep him alive. Our hearts are broken and we grieve for his family who are so devastated by this shocking tragedy. Jay's passing has been felt heavily by fans of his work, so he surely will not be forgotten." At number 9, Robert Downey Sr. Robert Downey Sr., father of Marvel actor Robert Downey Jr., passed away peacefully in his sleep on July 7, 2021 after a long battle with Parkinson's disease. Robert Downey Sr. was known as a pioneer of the underground film scene in New York City in the 1960s. He got his first big break with the film Putney Swope, and this put him on the map, set him up for success, and from then on he became a legend in the film industry, both as an actor and director. His success later continued into the 70s and 80s as he worked on projects like The Twilight Zone, Matlock, To Live and Die in LA, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. But other than growing his own success, he also aided in the growth and success of others, most notably his son, who began acting alongside him in the early days of his own career. Robert Downey Jr. released a statement following his father's passing, informing the world of the tragedy the Downey family was facing on his Instagram, where he said, quote, "Last night Dad passed away peacefully in his sleep after years of enduring the ravages of Parkinson's. He was a true maverick, filmmaker, and remained remarkably optimistic throughout. According to my stepmom's calculations, they were happily married for just over 2,000 years. Rosemary Rogers Downey, you are a saint and our thoughts and prayers are with you." End quote. Now before I carry on with the list, I would like to ask you guys to leave a comment down below sending a positive message for the families on this list. Losing a loved one is never easy, so let's send them some positive energy their way. At number 8, Sonny Chiba. Actor and martial artist Sonny Chiba recently passed away on August 19th of this year at the age of 82. Sonny was known as one of the first Japanese actors to gain international notoriety for his martial arts skills. Before he became famous in American cinema, Sonny first got his big break in Japan in the 1960s, portraying samurai, police detectives, and quote, anti-heroes trying to survive in a violent world, all while doing his own stunts. It wasn't until the film Street Fighter hit American cinemas that Sonny's career in the US started to take off. He attracted the attention of director Quentin Tarantino, and the actor was later cast in the film Kill Bill. From then, Sonny went on to star in films like Aces and even made an appearance in the film Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Sonny brought popularity to martial arts style films, and he will certainly be remembered for that, along with all of his talent and skill. At number 7, Kevin Clark. If you were a fan of the 2003 movie School of Rock, then you are probably among those who are devastated to hear about the sudden passing of one of the film's stars, Kevin Clark. Kevin, who played the character Freddie Jones, aka Spaz McGee, passed away on May 26th of this year at the age of only 32 years old after being involved in a tragic accident. According to news reports, Kevin had been riding his bike in a Chicago neighborhood in the early hours of the morning when he was struck by a vehicle. The actor was later rushed to hospital but sadly didn't make it. Kevin's death hit his family very hard because it was so sudden and so unexpected, and because he reportedly finally got into a good place in his life. When making a statement about Kevin's passing, the actor's mother told sources, quote, "He told his bandmates just yesterday, you know, this is finally the life I want to live, and we're going to make it. You're my musical family, my family, and we're all going to make it." End quote. Kevin had just started a new band and they performed for the first time on the weekend before he passed. Before this band, he was known for forming other musical groups and writing songs and teaching kids about music. His love for music and his drumming skills are actually what led him to getting the role in School of Rock, even though he had no prior acting experience. Kevin was an incredibly talented man who is certainly gone too soon. At number 6, Sean Connery. Sir Sean Connery was best known for his incredible talent, especially for playing the unforgettable and iconic James Bond. He was the first actor to bring the iconic character to life and starred in a total of 7 Bond films. His successful career spanned over 70 years, and he even earned an Academy Award in 1988 for his role in The Untouchables. Sadly, the actor passed away on October 31st, 2020 in his sleep while in his home in the Bahamas. The Scottish actor was surrounded by his family at the time of his passing. His talent and refinement as an actor defined an era and a style in the film industry, and the unforgettable charm and charisma that he portrayed on screen is something that defined his career in Hollywood. Sean was an inspiration to so many performers, forging a path for so many other talented people to make their way to Hollywood to try and achieve the same infamy as Connery.
And at number 5, Paul Walker. Paul Walker is another celebrity whose life was cut short because of a terrible accident. Paul Walker was best known for his role in the Fast and the Furious franchise, so it's terribly ironic that he passed away in a high-speed car accident. Walker wasn't driving the car, rather his friend Roger Rodas was driving. The pair was going for a joyride in 2005 Porsche Carrera GT when they lost control of the vehicle and crashed into a lamppost. When Rodas recollected his last words, apparently Paul was getting in the car and yelled out, quote, "Hey, I'll be back in 5 minutes, alright?" But sadly that was not true, and he lost his life only minutes later. His body was so hurt by the crash that he was later identified by dental records. And at number 4, Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel was truly larger than life, and left a permanent impact on the fashion world. And her last words were just as impactful as the life before it. Coco Chanel was known as a fashion icon at the time of her death, but started out struggling in poverty. Through hard work, she managed to make Chanel one of the most premier high fashion brands. Sadly, at the age of 87 in 1971, she would take her last breaths. It was clear she knew her death was imminent, although she was not ill at the time of her passing. On January 10th of 1971, while drifting off, she said to her maid Celine, quote, "You see, this is how you die." Then right after, she did. It was clear she knew it was coming and decided to accept it was her final moments. And at number 3, Bob Marley. Bob Marley was very young when he passed, only 36 years old. He had already cemented himself as a reggae legend and was one of the most influential musicians of all time. But sadly, in his final years, he was battling cancer and it took his life. In 1981, while speaking to his son Ziggy, Marley said, quote, "Money can't buy life," then drifted off. We're not sure that he meant that money couldn't buy him health, or if he had a deeper message of money can't buy happiness. Marley's melanoma spread over years, starting in one of his toes and then taking over his entire body. Marley's death might have been avoided if doctors were able to amputate one of his toes, but Marley refused and said that amputation was against his faith. And at number 2, John Lennon. John Lennon was killed in one of the most tragic deaths of all time. He was one of the most influential musicians ever, and sadly his death was cut short because of a crazed person. A man named Mark Chapman was determined to take the life of a famous person and chose Lennon because he made a comment that the Beatles were bigger than Jesus. While Lennon was on the sidewalk about to enter a building, Chapman came up and shot him in the back multiple times on December 8th of 1980. At first, Lennon yelled, quote, I'm shot, then right as he realized the wound was very serious and he might lose his life, he said a soft yes as he took his last breaths. Many who were there claimed that he was asked if he was John Lennon, and that's why he responded yes. Lennon was only 40 years old at the time. He had recently left the Beatles and was working on his solo career. He was also married to Yoko Ono, and the pair had a son together. Even worse, the pair were supposed to go to dinner but decided to go home and check on their son instead. This turned out to be a fatal decision. And finally, number 1, Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger was on the verge of becoming one of the greatest actors of all time, but sadly his life and career were cut short. In January of 2008, shortly after the release of the hit movie The Dark Knight, Ledger passed away because of an OD of prescription medication. In his final words, it's clear he didn't expect to die and was in denial about how bad things had gotten. At the age of 28, he slowly drifted away and said, quote, Katie, I'll be fine. He was speaking with his sister, telling her that he just needed some sleep, but he also revealed that he took several different medications that were prescribed to him. The toxicology report showed 6 medications in his bloodstream at the time. His legacy still lives on, but fans often wonder what he might have done next.
At number 10, Naya Rivera. Former Glee star Naya Rivera passed away last summer in July 2020 at the age of just 33 years old. Naya's death was the result of an accidental drowning after swimming in a dangerous area. On that day, Naya and her son were enjoying a nice day out on the boat when they decided to go swimming. The area in which they were had been reported to have difficult swimming conditions, and so when Naya was trying to save her son and get him back to their boat, she ran out of energy and couldn't keep herself afloat in the water. She mustered up enough energy to get her son back to safety, but she didn't have enough to save herself, and sadly she drowned in the lake. Shortly after the incident took place, reports started to come in of a child seen by himself on a boat, and when authorities arrived on the scene, they began the search for Naya. The rescue mission took days and a lot of equipment, but her body was later found on July 13th. Naya's passing came on the exact day of fellow Glee star Corey Monteith's passing, which took place 7 years earlier. Fans shared an outpouring of support for the Glee star and hailed her a hero for being able to save her son. She was a successful performer and good mom, and she is so dearly missed by her friends, family, and fans. At number 9, Christopher Plummer. Canadian actor Christopher Plummer had a very long and successful career. He provided entertainment in all kinds of different mediums, from film to theater and even voice acting. Christopher first became a largely known celebrity after his role as Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music, and he capped off his Hollywood career by starring in the 2019 film Knives Out, this being his last performance before his passing. Christopher acted in many different genres like dramas, musicals, and even sci-fi. One of his other best-known roles was as Klingon General Chang in Star Trek The Undiscovered Country. For the gamers out there, you might know Christopher for his voice acting as the leader of the Greybeards in Skyrim. This Academy Award-winning actor brought so much fun and entertainment to so many people over the years, and his presence in pop culture was so steady, it almost seemed like he was ingrained in the culture. Fans were devastated to learn of his passing in February of 2021 after he suffered a fall and injured his head. The actor was 91. Now before I carry on with the video, I would like to take some time to ask you guys to leave a comment down below sharing some love for the families of these celebrities. Going through a loss of a loved one is never easy, so let's send them some love and support. At number 8, Kirk Douglas. In the golden age of Hollywood, Kirk Douglas was one of the industry's biggest, brightest, and most successful stars. With over 92 acting credits, 75 of those credits being feature films, and 7 of which featured his good friend Burt Lancaster as his co-star, Douglas became a superstar in Hollywood even before people truly knew what that meant. Douglas received his very first Academy Award nomination in 1950 for his role in the film Champion. Later in 1991, Kirk was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute, and he became a Kennedy Center honoree just a few years later in 1994. Fast forward to 1996, and Kirk was awarded an honorary Oscar for his 50 years as a creative and for his moral force in the world of filmmaking. He had an incredibly long and successful career as an actor and lived to be 103. Kirk held on even after suffering a stroke in 1996, but soon as he got older, his health started to decrease until his passing in February 2020. Kirk died of old age, but is survived by his long and outstanding career and his mark on Hollywood. At number 7, Larry King. On January 23, 2021, legendary TV broadcaster Larry King passed away at the age of 87. The Emmy Award-winning host passed away at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in LA after it was revealed to the public that he had been battling COVID-19 for 10 days prior. Larry had a long and successful career that spanned over 6 decades, having interviewed famous people and leaders from Martin Luther King Jr. to Vladimir Putin and so many others in between. His show Larry King Live became the longest running show on CNN, spanning from 1985 to 2010, and even after that, Larry kept working, interviewing, and listening to the stories of so many people from all sides and all walks of life. But other than being a host, he was also something of an actor, and he played himself in a couple of productions, but he also voiced the character Doris in Shrek 2. After his passing, a statement was released which celebrated his life and legacy, with part of it saying, quote, "For 63 years and across the platforms of radio, television, and digital media, Larry's many thousands of interviews, awards, and global acclaim stand as a testament to his unique and lasting talent as a broadcaster." End quote. Upon the news of his passing, messages of condolences started pouring in from many of the celebrities, showing how respected he was and how he will be missed. At number 6, Sebastian Athey. Disney is probably one of the most consistent entertainment outlets around the world. No matter what part of the world you're from, you've probably become a Disney fan at some point or another. Latin American Disney Channel actor Sebastian Athey was a star in a completely different part of the world than my own, and yet we still felt the sadness that came with his sudden passing last summer. Known for his role as soccer player Lorenzo Guerva on the Argentinian Disney show Once, Sebastian was a well-loved and talented guy. Other than being a famed actor, he was also into the music scene. He was a singer, releasing music as recently as 2019. He released his most recent song, Freaking Out, in July 2019, a year before his passing, and before that he released a song through Disney Channel called Play with the Heart. But before he got his big break on the Disney Channel, he got a star on a popular telenovela called La Rosa de Guadalupe, having appeared on 2 episodes between 2014 and 2015 as 2 different characters. He lived a good life, finding a lot of success until his tragic passing on July 4th, 2020, after suffering from a heart attack at the age of only 24 years old. He will be dearly missed. At number 5, Cicely Tyson. After having a career that spanned over 70 years, renowned actress and black icon Cicely Tyson passed away on January 28, 2021 at the age of 96. Cicely was best known for her portrayal of strong black women in TV and film. The actress became a beloved Hollywood icon through her work as an actress, model, and author, and at the beginning of 2021, Cicely published a memoir titled Just As I Am, where she shared the story of her life, how she became who she was, and how she was a pioneering force in shaping history. Cicely first started her public career as a model, later transitioning into the performing arts, making her way to Broadway, where she acted alongside other talented people like James Earl Jones and Louis Gossett. In the 1960s, Cicely launched herself into a hugely successful TV and movie career, where she made a point of prioritizing roles that, quote, showed the full lived experiences of black Americans. Tyson later continued her career into the 70s, where she starred in the hugely successful series Roots, and later starred in more modern shows like How to Get Away with Murder. Other than her film and TV awards and nominations, Cicely also became a Kennedy Center honoree and was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama in 2016. Cicely leaves behind an incredible legacy, making her a good role model for a lot of young black kids everywhere. At number 4, Nick Cordero. Nick Cordero was a talented actor who found a lot of success in all sorts of creative avenues. Nick made waves in TV and movies as he played characters in productions like Blue Bloods, Law & Order, and Momtown, and on Broadway where he appeared in shows like Rock of Ages and Waitress. Sadly, Nick passed away in 2020 at the age of only 41 after a long and difficult battle with COVID. Nick's wife Amanda Kloots shared his grueling COVID journey with their followers and kept them updated on his health until the end. There were a lot of complications and sadly he lost his battle, but Amanda now uses her husband's tragic story to advocate for COVID safety and to warn others about the consequences that this pandemic can bring. Nick leaves behind his wife Amanda and their young son Elvin. The actor was taken far too soon as he had so much more creative potential and he will be terribly sorely missed. At number 3, Samuel E. Wright. If you're a fan of Disney animation, then you no doubt know the voice of Samuel E. Wright, best known for playing Sebastian the Crab in the Disney animated film The Little Mermaid. Though this role is what brought him the most fame, Samuel wasn't just known for his Disney role, as some may know him from playing Dizzy Gillespie in Clint Eastwood's Bird, as well as his role in a series of Fruit of the Loom commercials. Samuel began his career on Broadway, making his debut in Jesus Christ Superstar in 1971, and later going on to play Mufasa in The Lion King on Broadway in 1997. As I mentioned, his best known role is for playing Sebastian in The Little Mermaid, and this role is what he's most remembered for. He performed the songs Under the Sea, which won an Oscar for Best Original Song, and Kiss the Girl in the film. Samuel would later go on to talk about his dream to be very successful in Hollywood, where he said, quote, "Maybe not every actor would say this, but if I didn't want to be immortal, I wouldn't be acting. I do want to make my little mark on the world. An actor's worst nightmare is to hear 10 years from now, Sam Wright, who was Sam Wright? If you have that kind of attitude, you tend to take each role and make it the best role you've ever done." End quote. Samuel passed away on May 24th, 2021 at the age of 74 after a 3-year battle with prostate cancer. At number 2, Helen McCrory. Harry Potter fans were devastated to hear about the passing of actress Helen McCrory, who fans recognize as the talented woman who played Narcissa Malfoy in the Harry Potter franchise. Helen sadly passed away on April 16th, 2021 at the age of 52 after a difficult battle with cancer. Her acting career first began when she started performing at London's West End before jumping into the film and television industry, where she would go on to star in productions like Harry Potter, of course, as well as Peaky Blinders, The Queen, Interview with the Vampire, and Casanova. Upon her passing, Helen's husband released an emotional statement which read, quote, "I'm heartbroken to announce that after a heroic battle with cancer, the beautiful and mighty woman that is Helen McCrory has died peacefully at home, surrounded by a wave of love from friends and family. She died as she lived, fearlessly. God, we love her and know how lucky we are to have had her in our lives. She blazed so brightly. Go on now, little one, into the air, and thank you." Helen leaves behind her husband Damian Lewis as well as their 2 children. And finally, at number 1, Dustin Diamond. Fans of the hit 90s show Saved by the Bell were devastated to hear of the passing of actor Dustin Diamond earlier this year. Dustin, who played Samuel Powers, aka Screech on the show, captivated audiences during its run between 1989 and 1992. Dustin, who was only 44 at the time of his passing, lost his battle with stage 4 lung cancer on February 1st, 2021. Fans learned of Dustin's cancer diagnosis just 3 weeks before the actor passed away. After his passing, Dustin's representative issued a statement to fans as well as to the press, where they said, quote, "He was diagnosed with this brutal, relentless form of malignant cancer only 3 weeks ago. In that time, it managed to spread rapidly through his system. The only mercy it exhibited was its sharp and swift execution. Dustin did not suffer. He did not have to lie submerged in pain. For that, we are grateful." End quote. The source also said that Dustin passed with his girlfriend by his side and was surrounded by love, which is really all you can ask for at a moment like this. At number 10, Robin Williams. Actor and comedian Robin Williams put a smile on everyone's face. He had the ability to captivate an audience so easily, and he always left an impression on every single one of his fans. Though he had a long and successful career, he also spent some time working for Disney, portraying a number of characters. He worked on projects like Popeye, Good Morning Vietnam, Good Will Hunting, Back to Neverland, Flubber, and more. His most notable Disney production, however, was Aladdin. Robin voiced the genie, bringing that magical blue goofball to life in the most entertaining way. The genie was always meant to be played by Robin, as the character was even written with him in mind, and he brought the character to life in both the original Aladdin and the sequel, Aladdin and the King of Thieves. Sadly, Robin passed away on August 11, 2014 after he took his own life. Though it was originally reported that he suffered from depression, his wife later clarified that he was really suffering from a condition called DLB, saying that Robin's depression was one of the many symptoms of DLB. His last photo was taken at a party the day before he took his own life, and it's so sad to look back at and see that this was the last time he would ever be seen alive in public. At number 9, Heath Ledger. The legendary actor flipped the world upside down when he suddenly passed away in 2008. The media was flooded with articles that broke the news of his body being found on the floor by his housekeeper in his apartment in New York City. He was only 28 years old at the time and had recently finished filming for his role as the Joker in The Dark Knight. Not long after his housekeeper found his body, the emergency crew arrived, but they weren't able to revive him. His cause of death was determined as an accidental overdose. The toxicology test revealed that he had prescription medications in his system, including well-known painkillers, anti-anxiety medication, and sleeping pills. His family ended up taking his body back to Australia and buried him next to his grandparents in his hometown of Perth. His last photo was one that was taken while on set for the film The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, showing him in costume for what would be one of his last roles ever. Before we carry on talking about these celebrities' last pictures, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Princess Diana. Diana was the people's princess. She was loved by so many, made such an impact in a lot of people's lives, and gave back to those in need. She got to live a lavish life as well as she was part of the royal family, but even with the fame and riches, Diana was still terribly unhappy. She faced a number of hardships both in and out of the public eye, and a lot of the pain that she experienced stemmed from her marriage to Prince Charles. Though the people loved them, they were not as close and in love as they should have been, and Diana felt trapped. It wasn't until her divorce that she was able to finally find freedom and start her life over again, but she didn't get to enjoy that freedom for very long as she passed away tragically in a car accident. There is an image that was taken of her in the car just seconds before it crashed, and it is definitely an eerie photo to see. At number 7, Amelia Earhart. I'm sure you guys have no doubt heard of the famed pilot who tried to cross the globe but was never seen again. In 1937, Amelia departed on her journey to circumnavigate the globe, but after receiving an emergency message from her, people got worried, especially when communication stopped entirely. The search for Amelia began just an hour after her last recorded message, but to this day, Amelia nor her remains were ever found. In 1940, a woman's body was located on Gardner Island, part of the Phoenix Islands in Kiribati in the western Pacific Ocean. Along with it looked to be a campfire, shoes, and navigational equipment. The woman looked to be around Amelia's height, but the body was never truly identified to confirm that this was Amelia. The last photo we have of Amelia was taken just before what would have been her final flight before she was lost forever. At number 6, Michael Jackson. The pop legend died on the afternoon of June 25th, 2009 after he was found in his bed not breathing. He had been rehearsing late the night before and did not leave his room in the morning. That's when his body was discovered the following day in the afternoon by his personal physician Conrad Murray. He explained that he tried to revive Michael for 5 to 10 minutes but was unsuccessful, so he called paramedics who performed CPR for 42 minutes and were also unsuccessful. He was sent to the hospital and was officially pronounced dead after another hour of attempting to resuscitate him. They determined that he had died from an overdose of drugs following a cardiac arrest. But there's always been a lot of controversy surrounding his death, and people were not convinced that we got the whole story of what happened the night before his passing. One of the last photos that we have of the King of Pop is one from his stage rehearsal. It is crazy to think that this photo was captured not knowing that this performance would never happen. At number 5, John Riley. John Riley had a long, successful career, but sadly the beloved actor passed away at the age of 84 on January 10th, 2021. John began his rise to fame after playing roles on General Hospital and Beverly Hills 90210. John was originally from Chicago, and he started his acting career in the 1960s with guest starring roles on Death Valley Days, Apple's Way, and Gunsmoke. In 1984, his career moved forward and he starred in 6 episodes of Dallas, and from there he went on to portray Sean Donnelly on General Hospital for 11 years. The announcement of the actor's death came from his daughter Caitlin Riley, who announced the death of her father's passing on Instagram. However, the cause of death was not disclosed. Caitlin's tribute to her father was emotional and sweet as she revealed that she made it in time to hold him and say goodbye, so we know that unfortunately the actor's passing was expected, which makes that a little more painful. At number 4, Cameron Boyce. One of the biggest and most tragic deaths that Disney has faced recently was the passing of actor Cameron Boyce back in 2019. Cameron passed away on July 6, 2019 at the age of only 20 years old. His death came shortly before the premiere of his film Descendants 3, where he played Carlos, the son of Disney villain Cruella de Vil. Before this film, Cameron starred in other hit Disney productions like Jessie and had guest roles on Good Luck Charlie and Shake It Up as well. Cameron was a Disney fan favorite, but he was much more than that outside of the world of film and television. Cameron also loved to help people and was also a philanthropist. In 2017, Cameron helped raise over $27,000 for the Thirst Project. He aided in efforts to end homelessness. He worked closely with an organization that helped raise awareness and fight against assault on college campuses. He worked with an organization to help kids with sickle cell disease, and his final humanitarian effort was to partner with an organization to fight against gun violence. Because helping others was something that Cameron loved, his family set up an organization in his name after his passing to, quote, provide young people artistic and creative outlets as alternatives to violence and negativity, and provide resources to make a positive change in the world. Cameron did a lot of good in his life and continues to be someone for people to look up to. At number 3, Charlie Robinson. On July 11, 2021, actor Charlie Robinson passed away at the age of 75. Charlie had a wonderful and long career spanning over 50 years. Over that half century of work, Charlie made a name for himself, mostly thanks to his role as Mac on Night Court, which he is best known for. Sadly though, Charlie suffered from some serious health issues towards the end of his life. The actor had been diagnosed with metastatic adenocarcinoma, a type of aggressive cancer, and as a result of this and septic shock, the actor passed away from cardiac arrest and organ failure. He brought so much entertainment entertainment to so many people over the span of his career, and he and his talent will certainly not be forgotten. At number 2, Stan Lee. I'm sure you all know who the legendary Stan Lee was. He was a comic book writer, editor, actor, and producer, known for his creation and involvement in so many iconic Marvel characters. He was always a storyteller, as he enjoyed writing since he was a kid. He credited the books and movies from his childhood for his great success later in life. In 1939, Lee began working for a comic book publisher, which eventually evolved into the coveted Marvel Comics by the 1960s. What made Stan's character so unique is how his comic book heroes had more realistic and flawed qualities in comparison to rival DC Comics. Their success skyrocketed, and the Marvel empire grew into what we know it as today. Other than creating these characters, Lee also starred alongside them for many years, as he held cameos in many of the Marvel movie adaptations. For fans of the MCU, Stan's appearance was one Easter egg that we all looked forward to finding. Stan Lee lived an incredibly long and successful life until his death on November 12, 2018 at the age of 95. And at number 1, Michael K. Williams. Actor Michael K. Williams, best known for his role on The Wire, passed away on September 6, 2021 at the age of 54 after being found dead in his penthouse in Brooklyn, New York. According to sources, it is believed that Michael died of a suspected overdose. Michael became a well-known and beloved actor with the success of his time on The Wire, as well as his role on HBO's Boardwalk Empire. His most recent project, Lovecraft Country, brought him even more success, as he was nominated for an Emmy Award for his work in that production as well. Upon the announcement of his death, Michael's rep issued a statement which read, quote, "It is with deep sorrow that the family announces the passing of Emmy-nominated actor Michael Kenneth Williams. They ask for your privacy while grieving this unsurmountable loss. Michael was certainly taken far too soon."
And at number 10, Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was one of the most legendary musical artists of all time. He not only won tons of achievements for his work, but also had a long and commercially successful career. He probably would have kept making music forever, but sadly when his health started to fail as he aged, he was not able to perform like he once had. Sinatra's health started to decline in the late 1990s, and in the last few years of his life, his words were few and far between. So when he spoke, it got everyone's attention. This is how close family was able to remember his last words. While lying in a hospital bed on May 14th of 1998, the 82-year-old Sinatra turned to his wife Barbara and said, quote, "I'm losing it." He was in the hospital following a heart attack and was not able to recover. Then moments later, he passed away. It seemed as though he knew he was going to die, which was all the more haunting. And at number 9, John Belushi. John Belushi lived a very impactful life, but sadly was cut short at the age of 33. Belushi made a name for himself in hit movies like The Blues Brothers and Animal House, along with being one of the original 7 cast members on the sketch show Saturday Night Live. At the time of his death, many were shocked to learn he was only 33 years old, as he looked much older. On the night of March 5th of 1982, he suffered an OD after he was injected with a mixture of substances that his body could not handle. Belushi had lived an unhealthy life for most of his adult years, which made the strength of his body even weaker. Right before he passed away, he was with his friend Catherine Smith, who was also the person that gave him the substances. After he took the lethal dose, it seemed Belushi knew he was going to die, and said to the woman, quote, "Just don't leave me alone." Sadly though, she did leave, and was charged with manslaughter because she didn't try to help. And at number 8, Princess Diana. The death of Princess Diana of Wales is one of the most tragic of all time. Not only was she very young, but she was on her way to finally living her life how she truly wanted to live it. Even though she was a princess, she didn't have a happily ever after. Diana was very young when she married Charles and started having kids with him. It was a ton of pressure, made worse by the fact that she was never truly accepted by the royals or her own husband. Sadly, Charles was openly cheating on her throughout their marriage and was truly in love with Camilla, but was forced to marry Diana instead. After many years of suffering, the pair finally got a divorce, and Diana was having the time of her life. She was dating a man that she loved named Dodi Fayed, and there were rumors that they were getting engaged. But on the night of August 31st of 1997, Diana and Dodi got in a tragic car accident that took both of their lives. Apparently right after the shock of the crash, Diana said, quote, "My God, what happened?" She was apparently looking at the bodies of the other people in the car. She then lost consciousness and died later in a French hospital. And at number 7, Steve Jobs. Even though Steve Jobs was not a traditional celebrity, he was so significant to the modern world that his death was felt by all. The Apple founder was a struggling tech entrepreneur before the 2000s, then he created Apple and legendary products like the iPhone, and would become a household name for years to come. But sadly, his life was cut short when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and was not able to beat it. He passed away in October of 2011 while in hospice care waiting to die. Right before he took his last breath, he looked up and said, quote, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." It was theorized that he was looking into another world or being introduced to some form of heaven. It was reported that his last words were a rant against wealth and materialism, but it was later proved that that was a lie. In at number 6, James Brown. Based on his last words, it seemed that James Brown might have known he was approaching the end of his life. Once named the hardest working man in showbiz, Brown was a singer, musician, dancer, and producer. And strangely enough, his last words were very similar to those of Frank Sinatra's. On Christmas morning in 2006, Brown suffered a heart failure and while gasping for air said the words, quote, "I'm going away tonight," to his longtime friend and manager, Charles Bobbitt. At first, Bobbitt wasn't sure how serious it all was and rushed to get him medical attention. But only moments after Brown became unconscious, he took his last breaths. He was 73 years old at the time. It seemed that in the end, Brown's heart had been working under too much of a strain and just gave out. And just to prove how much that he worked, right before he passed away, he was set to play the New Year's Eve show just days later.
At number 5, DMX. On April 9, 2021, legendary rapper and actor DMX, born Earl Simmons, passed away, leaving fans and the entertainment industry devastated. DMX, known for such hits as Get At Me Dog and X Gon' Give It To Ya, passed away after suffering a major heart attack following a substance overdose this past spring. The rapper was rushed to hospital on April 2nd and stayed in critical care while fans set up a prayer vigil outside of his hospital until his passing about a week later. DMX, who was only 50 at the time of his death, made huge waves in Hollywood and in the music industry. He rose to fame in the late 90s and his 1999 album, And Then There Was X, went 5 times platinum, and he was even nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Rap Album in 2001. Other than being a legendary rapper, DMX was also an actor, having been in a handful of films like Belly and Cradle to the Grave. Upon his passing, DMX's family released a statement saying that he was a, quote, warrior who fought till the very end, end quote. The statement also said, quote, he loved his family with all his heart and we cherish the times we spent with him. Earl's music inspired countless fans across the world and his iconic legacy will live on forever. We appreciate all the love and support during this incredibly difficult time, unquote. At number 4, Alex Trebek. After a long and difficult battle with pancreatic cancer, Jeopardy host Alex Trebek passed away on November 8, 2020 at the age of 80. Alex worked on the game show Jeopardy for the last 35 years and it feels as though we grew up with him. Hearing his voice on the TV in the background or watching the show is something I'm sure many of us remember experiencing. Although Alex is best known as the host of Jeopardy, he also made several cameos in different films like Spy Hard and even appeared as himself in many other productions. He was a ray of positivity until the very end. Alex shared his cancer diagnosis in March 2019, and though he continued his battle, he also continued to be the face of the game show, hosting each round and keeping his loyal fans updated on his health. It felt as though we were all fighting together. Though he was optimistic, he lost his battle last year. The Canadian legend created a worldwide family through television, and he will be missed by all. Thank you, Alex. At number 3, Regis Philbin. The longtime television and game show host Regis Philbin sadly passed away from heart disease at the age of 88 on July 24, 2020. He was most widely known as a co-host of Live with Regis and Kathy Lee starting in 1988, which became Live with Regis and Kelly in 2001. Regis also made a number of appearances in films throughout his career, appearing as himself in films like Little Nicky and Miss Congeniality 2, as well as voicing the character Mabel in Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After. Upon his passing, Regis's family shared an exclusive statement with People magazine and said, quote, his family and friends are forever grateful for the time we got to spend with him, for his warmth, for his legendary sense of humor, and his singular ability to make every day into something worth talking about. We thank his fans and admirers for their incredible support over this 60-year career and ask for privacy as we mourn his loss. End quote. At number 2, Ed Asner. Actor Ed Asner was a beloved actor who brought joy and entertainment to the masses. Some may know him from his roles in productions like The Untouchables and The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and others may know him as the man who played Santa in the movie Elf, or grumpy old man Carl from the Pixar movie Up. No matter where you knew him from, you no doubt appreciated his talent. His final few productions were Doom Patrol and Cobra Kai, so he really did bring us entertainment until the end. Ed passed away on August 29, 2021 at the age of 91. And finally, at number 1, Chadwick Boseman. Marvel's Black Panther movie is one of the company's most successful films, and for good reason. I remember when the film was first released, there were so many people going to see it, and so many people from the Black community saying how they felt empowered and represented by this film. It was a big deal and made Black Panther a fan favorite. Chadwick Boseman, the actor who brought King T'Challa to life, also became an icon, so when news broke of his passing last year, fans were absolutely devastated. Chadwick passed away on August 28, 2020 at the age of 43 after a long and difficult battle with stage 4 colon cancer. Other than being cast in the MCU, Chadwick also played some other big roles such as Jackie Robinson in 42, as well as James Brown in Get On Up. His final performance was in the second episode of Marvel's What If series that was released this year, where he reprised his role of King T'Challa one last time. His family released a statement announcing his passing, saying how hard he fought until the end. Fans found out that Chadwick was receiving treatment for his condition at the same time that he was filming Black Panther, showing us how strong he really was. Chadwick really was a king on and off screen, and it's hard to imagine the MCU without him.